Hey guys, how's it going? You might be wondering how much time I spend in my Amazon FBA business. As you guys know, I have a 7-figure business. I just wanted to show you a quick, screen grab of my seller account here. You can see that that's over the last 30 days on my Amazon USA account. And in today's video, I'm just gonna be talking about how I spend my time. I'm gonna give you a full breakdown of the last 7 days of my life and kind of just give you some insight into just how much time I'm spending in my Amazon FBA business versus all the other activities going on in my life. And I think that you might come away a little bit surprised from this video just because I'm gonna draw some light or insight into kind of some problems that I see, developing or that I need to be correcting in my life if I want to reach my maximum potential, the maximum results out of building an entrepreneurial career. So I think you're going to get some great takeaways out of this video in just how you can apply different tools and reallocate your time so that you can, maximize your results so that you can go out there and grow a 6 or 7 figure Amazon e-commerce business. If you guys are new to this channel, my name's Lamar, and I'm here trying to help you guys build 6 and 7 figure Amazon FBA businesses and giving you just insight into what that journey looks for me so that it can help you better prepare yourself so you can accomplish the same results. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel, you turn on the notification bell, and give me a thumbs up if you're getting value out of this video. If you find this video interesting, because here again, this video is for you, and I want to make sure that I'm, developing content that you guys want to watch. Anyways, this video is about, how I spend my time and specifically how I spent the last 7 days of my life. Now, this might be a little bit of an overshare, but about 2 months ago, I broke up with my girlfriend. And since that time, I've really been kind of scattered. I felt like my life was really imbalanced. And what I'm finding here is if you want to achieve maximum results, you need to keep your life in balance. And this kind of breakup really threw my life out of balance, started making me question a lot of different things, started just like overthinking a lot in my mind. I started wasting time doing unnecessary activities. So I kind of just saw this spiral of events starting to take place that was like throwing me off course. And essentially I was starting to get frustrated with my output. I was starting to become annoyed with what I wasn't accomplishing, why I wasn't accomplishing so much. And I'm sure that you guys can relate to this. Maybe, it's not a breakup necessarily, but there's some life event that kind of just like, throws everything on its head, or maybe it's not a big event at all and you're just wondering why you're not getting as much out of what you think that you should be accomplishing. Well, as you guys know, I track my time. I started to implement this practice probably a year ago now, and it's been extremely useful tool as far as analyzing, how you're spending your time so that you can then reflect on that and make adjustments moving forward into refining, what you want to achieve, what your goals are. So luckily for me, by tracking my time has given me a great tool or great insight into where I need to make adjustments to get more out of what I want to accomplish. And like I said, I implemented this about a year ago. So with the combination of, tracking my time on my phone, and I use an app called Toggle, where I just basically record all of my working hours. So I complement that with my phone screen time. And if you guys don't know, I have an iPhone. I'm sure it's the same thing on any Android device, but you can actually see how much time you're spending on your phone. So I coupled my work tracker with my phone screen time, and then I just also added in some obvious things that I knew that I was doing. And basically over the last 7 days, I was able to track 106 hours of the 112 hours that I was awake over the last 7 days. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today, and just giving you guys kind of insight into how I live my life. So let's start to look into this. So I've broken this up into sections here. I have a work section, I have a self section, I have a social section, and an app section, or how I spent time on apps. For work, I have e-commerce, I do PPC management for clients, I do consulting, and I also have my YouTube channel. So in e-commerce, I spent just over 16.5 hours on the e-commerce business last week. On PPC, I spent 2.5 hours managing other people's PPC accounts. For the consulting, I spent 18 hours, and on YouTube, I spent 1.5 hours. So actually last week, I basically worked just around 40 hours, but I only dedicated about 16.5 hours to the e-commerce business. For myself, or self-improvement in this section, I spent 1 hour total last week meditating, and I spent 7 hours working out. So that's just going to the gym, doing CrossFit, basically an hour every single day. For my social life, I spent 8 hours last week going out on dates. I spent 10 hours drinking with friends. So, I'm a very social guy. I go out on the weekends. A lot of my best friends, live here with me in the surrounding city, and we go out on Friday and Saturday night. I allotted a hangover category here because I think it's fair to say that I waste time, or essentially, lose out on doing something else due to hangover, not to include all the, depression that comes from drinking from alcohol. But I'm gonna allot 8 hours to being hungover. And then I spent another 16.5 hours hanging out with friends, and that was just like in a sober scenario. So there was like no drinking involved. So that was kind of my social life last week. And then last but not least, we have the apps. So I spent 8 hours texting. I spent almost 6 hours on dating apps, and on Instagram, I spent 5 hours. So just trying to be like 100% transparent with you guys and give you like insight into the last 7 days of my life and why I, might have been feeling the way that I'm feeling, and just trying to gain insight into where I need to make adjustments going forward. And where this basically all stemmed from was that I started to feel like I was losing focus. I was starting to feel like I wasn't accomplishing as much as I wanted to, because I was distracted. I was starting to work on a lot of different projects. I just didn't feel like I was accomplishing a lot personally. So if you start to have this feeling, or if you think that you start to have this feeling, looking at how you're spending your time is a good place to start that reflection process. So I first just want to kind of pick out a couple points here and tell you how I'm going to be, changing or implementing some changes here, and maybe you'll get some benefit out of that as well. So the first thing is that I do about 20 hours worth of consulting on Amazon FBA businesses per week. And that is a lot to me. I'm gonna make a goal that, 6 months from now, I wanna have that at least cut in half, if not completely removed. I wanna spend 100% of my time, building my brands, not somebody else's brands. And don't get me wrong, just because I'm only spending 16.5 hours worth of my time in the e-commerce business, I have 7 other employees, both part-time and full-time employees that are probably putting close to 120 to another 140 hours worth of work into the e-commerce business. So just because I'm only putting in 16, I don't want you guys to think that that's all that's being put into the e-commerce business, because that's just not true. I have other, employees that are helping me out. And that's the way that I built the business. I want them to take on the responsibility. I was trying to get them to be able to manage, the e-commerce business separately from myself, so that I could think about and do more, high level strategizing, thinking about the bigger picture. And that's the way that I set this up. And so far that's working, successfully, but I still want to get some other hours back so that I can, think about other businesses, so I can think about the bigger strategy as a whole. And right now I see the consulting as a big chunk of time that I basically need to get back. The next thing I want to jump to are the apps. So I don't know if you guys realize just how much time you're spending text messaging or on Instagram or Facebook, but you can use your phone and you can see your screen time, just how much time you're dedicating or wasting to these apps, okay? And I just think that this is a gross amount of time that I was spending, on these apps. And what I've done is I've set up restrictions now. There's a feature on the iPhone where you can basically set up a downtime, is what it's called, and you can set limits or time limits on how much time you want to allocate to each app per day. And then when you hit that limit, it just closes that app and you're no longer able to use it anymore. So I've set up restrictions specifically on the dating apps to only 20 minutes per day, and on Instagram to 10 minutes per day, because I think Instagram is a complete waste of time. I see some benefits for brands out there, but for me personally, just scrolling down the feed is a completely waste of time. And, your time is extremely valuable. You need to be careful in where you're putting your time. I mean, that's the whole point of this video. And I just see this as a complete waste. So just the fact of me now knowing how much time I'm spending on there and being able to set up these processes in place to help me reduce the time, I think is gonna help, and I've already done that. The other big elephant here in the room is definitely social. So, I'm a very social guy, to be honest with you. I have a lot of friends in the city here. I go out, I hang out with a lot of people. I like going on dates. I enjoy going on dates. So, I like to take time and do that. You also have to understand that I don't do anything else besides what's listed here. Okay, so I'm not watching TV, I'm not playing video games. The hobbies that I have, I need to work and actually develop a couple more hobbies, but I didn't spend any time on hobbies here besides maybe meditating and working out. Everything here that you see is what I did. And that's kind of my life. So taking social completely out is not something that I want to do. But just the fact that I am aware of how much time I'm dedicating to social, I think helps me just be more productive when I am focusing on those work activities. And not to mention, I think it's important to keep your life in balance, right? I don't want to just turn my entire life into working and self-improvement, because I want to be able to enjoy, my 30s basically here, and, hanging out with friends, going on dates. These things are important to me. So, I'm not exactly sure how much time or where I'm going to be reducing my, social time, but just the fact of the impact that it's having on my life, and just the visibility into how much time I'm spending there is important in itself. But I'm definitely aware of it, and being aware of it, I think is the first step and helps me just understand what I need to accomplish during the week so that I can still enjoy my time like on the weekends and out with friends and whatnot. When it comes to self-improvement, meditating and working out, those are two areas that I'm not going to change at all either. I think that meditating is extremely important. I'm trying to do that now every day. And I've felt a lot better now that I have been meditating, especially with, going through a breakup and having your mind just be like constantly chattering or constantly thinking about, what you should be doing, what you're not doing, like all these different things that are going on. Meditating really just helps you, like refocus on yourself, be present. And I've been getting a lot of satisfaction out of doing that. And I also love working out. So I'm not gonna stop working out. That's not a place where I want to really like cut time. But definitely I see areas, within the apps that I need to cut, within the consulting here, just so that I can, focus more on my own business. And then, just being careful with this like social aspect. It is a large chunk of my time. Granted, I have a lot of smart friends, so we are talking about business, a lot of the time. And, I think that that's important, like I said earlier, about just balancing your time. Now, luckily, I was tracking my time here, and I've been doing that over the past year. And that gave me the foundation that allowed me to do this and break this out in this much detail, this easily, this quickly. I knew that my life was kind of getting thrown out of balance. So I was able to reflect on the last week because I've been doing this. I set this habit up in place of tracking my time, which then allowed me to basically reflect on how I was spending my time. For you guys, what I would encourage you to do is start tracking your time, because it's important to know and do routinely checkups on how you're spending your time, what you're spending most of your time on, so that if you need to make adjustments, you're capable of doing that. At the very least, it'll give you insight into where and how much time you're spending where. And just that insight alone, that knowledge, is enlightening in itself. Even if you don't make any changes, I think that you should make changes. You should always be trying to, improve yourself, make better decisions about how you're spending your time. But just that knowledge in itself is going to give you really great insight and just make you feel better about yourself and help you understand a little bit more about, where you can make those improvements. Or if you're not achieving as much as you want to be achieving, this would be a good first step in just understanding where and how to make those improvements. So kind of the big takeaway here for the video is, and I would encourage you guys to look over the last 7 days of your life and try to bucket where you've spent the most majority of your time. Your phone is a great place to start, right? You can see how much time you're spending on different apps, and then you can kind of fill in the blocks from there. You know how much time you've spent at work, how much time you've maybe spent with your family or your friends or out or whatnot, and build something similar to this so that you can kind of have a sense. And the reason why I think it's important for you to look over your last 7 days is because if you just start tracking now and you go forward over the next 7 days, you might limit the time that you're spending on your cell phone, or maybe you're going to work extra hard on your business this week, and that's going to give a false perception into like a true average week. So I think it's important to look over the last 7 days, kind of build something out like this, and just give you guys some like deep insight into how you're spending your time and where you can make your adjustments. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Kind of the summary, the recap, the tip here is make sure you guys are tracking your time going forward and do a 7-day recap like this and just like reevaluate your life. As I said, at a minimum, it'll help you gain deep insight into how you're spending your time and how you can make those adjustments going forward. Until the next video, guys, have a great weekend. Peace.